In the peaceful outskirts of Oakland County, Michigan, an ominous shadow descended upon the community between 1976 and a horrifying saga unraveled, rattling the foundations of this perceived safe sanctuary. An invisible menace, subsequently called the Oakland County Child Killer, prowled the quiet streets seeking prey. This malevolent entity evolved into a chilling representation of every parent's deepest fear. Within a little over a year, 4 defenseless lives were seized by this anonymous Mark Stebbins. Jill Robinson, Christine Mihelic, and Timothy King, children aged 10 to 12, were mercilessly kidnapped, imprisoned, and ultimately savagely murdered. A petrifying aspect that left the community aghast was the killer's systematic routine of bathing and feeding the victims before their premature end. This earned him a disturbing moniker, the Babysitter. The community was ensnared in a fear so tangible it was almost perceptible to touch. Parents held their children closer, and the once bustling streets of Oakland County fell into an unsettling silence. The perpetrator, a faceless, unidentified fiend, skulked in the shadows, plunging the community into a continuous state of anxiety. Despite the most extensive manhunt in US history at the time, the perpetrator's identity remained cloaked in secrecy. Yet, even as the community wrestled with the horror, the gears of justice started turning. The local law enforcement, assisted by the Michigan State Police, launched an unwavering pursuit of the killer. They were resolute to bring this unseen menace to justice, to reinstate tranquility in their fear-engulfed community. There was only escalating, as this invisible menace was far from being stopped. The menace, infamously dubbed the Oakland County Child Killer, utilized an eerily distinctive modus operandi. His malevolent tactic wasn't solely about the act of murder, but rather a protracted, terror-inducing process that unfolded over agonizing days and sometimes weeks. This anonymous male assailant would kidnap children between the ages of 10 to 12, uprooting them from their normal existence into a horrific ordeal that they couldn't escape. These unsuspecting youngsters were imprisoned, stripped of their freedom, and subjected to an overwhelming sense of fear and uncertainty. Soon, the real terror ensued. The fiend would scrupulously tend to his captives, simulating a disturbing veneer of nurturing. He would bathe and feed them, a grotesque distortion of intended comforting deeds. This perverse routine was a frightening dichotomy to the grim fate that eventually befell these young victims. Post this dreadful mockery of caregiving, the victims were mercilessly killed, their existence extinguished through methods as diverse as they were ghastly: suffocation, gunshot wounds, their precise nature often veiled in obscurity. However, the horror story wasn't over. The concluding act of this horrifying spectacle was a blatant display of audacity. Instead of hiding the lifeless bodies, they were strategically placed in public areas, an appalling exhibition of the killer's audacity and absence of guilt. The bathing, feeding, then the brazen exhibition. It seemed as if the murderer reveled in mocking humanity, defying the very concept of safety and innocence. His deeds were a repugnant distortion of care, a sickening violation of societal norms. These chilling specifics sketch a portrait of a murderer who derived a sadistic pleasure, not merely from ending lives, but also from the dread and horror he instigated. The killer's malevolent regimen compounded the horror of an already petrifying situation. As bodies began to accumulate, it triggered the most extensive manhunt in US history at that a surge of terror inundated Oakland County, Michigan, from 1976 to 1977. 4 innocent children, their lives brutally and abruptly terminated, became the instigator for an investigation of unprecedented scale. Rapidly, investigation teams were formed, merging their resources and knowledge. A formidable task force emerged from the chaos. Their objective was unequivocal: capture the transgressor, serve justice to the victims, and re-establish tranquility in a panic-stricken community. The task force buzzed with activity. An air of grim determination was tangible. In the initial phases of the investigation, leads were pursued. Suspects were meticulously examined. Taking the spotlight under the investigators' scrutiny were 2 men, Archibald Edward Sloan and Ted Lamborghini, both with criminal pasts making them potential suspects. Sloan, already infamous among the authorities for offences against children, and Lamborghini, incarcerated for life for similar felonies, were both under consideration. Sloan's DNA, discovered in a vehicle linked to the case, was a crucial lead. However, it didn't directly correspond to the evidence unearthed from the victims. Lamborghini, albeit a suspect, the absence of definitive evidence tying him to the vile crimes left the investigators in a dilemma. The task force proceeded, doggedly pursuing every lead, every hint, every intuition. The officers worked ceaselessly, their every conscious moment consumed by this bone-chilling case. They longed for a revelation, a breakthrough that would unmask the elusive murderer. Yet despite their unwavering commitment and relentless exertions, the trail began to fade. Leads evaporated. The once promising suspects failed to provide the critical breakthrough. The nebulous figure responsible for the vile crimes receded further into anonymity. Despite their utmost, the investigators hit a brick wall, and the case began to lose its heat. The task force was dissolved in 1978, leaving behind a legacy of disappointment, unresolved queries, and a case that continues to serve as a stark reminder of the malevolence that can be concealed in the most unanticipated corners. Transition to the present era, and the case remains as haunting and unsettled as always. The heart of Oakland County, Michigan is permeated with the remnants of a nameless horror. The Oakland County child killer, or as familiar to some, the babysitter, inflicted a legacy that time hasn't been able to obliterate. This case, extending over 4 decades, stands unresolved today just as it did back in the twilight of the 70s. The victims' families persist in their quest for retribution. They've ceaselessly advocated for the case to stay in the spotlight, inspiring anyone with knowledge to step forth. Their persistence is a testament to their undying hope. Despite the years rolling on, their endeavours have preserved the case, igniting a renewed curiosity and leading to new inquiries. But what about the alleged culprits, you may wonder? Well, DNA analysis has implicated 2 individuals in the case. One of these accused is no longer amongst us, having departed this world. The other is currently enduring a life sentence for crimes against children. Yet neither of these persons has been conclusively connected to the atrocities committed by the Oakland County child killer. Horrifying truth is that the principal offender's identity remains concealed. Despite technological progress and the persistent endeavours of detectives, the identity of the individual who performed these monstrous acts continues to elude us. As we venture further into the 21st century, the case of the Oakland County child killer endures to perplex and fascinate. It's a stark testament to the unending potency of unresolved mysteries and the persistent pursuit of justice. The identity of the principal offender remains enigmatic, casting an eerie cloud of uncertainty over Oakland County. The Oakland County child killer case remains an ominous testament to the malevolent presence concealed within the most seemingly tranquil communities. This unresolved riddle has imprinted a chilling mark not only on the residents of Oakland County, Michigan, but also on the larger realm of true crime devotees and sleuths globally. Since the late 70s, an ominous pall has lingered over the community, symbolizing the stolen innocence and the lives irreversibly transformed. The case, with its eerie specifics, has been engraved into the psyche of those who recall and continues to captivate fresh cohorts of true crime aficionados. The tale of the 4 young victims, Mark, Jill, Christine and Timothy, serves as a ghostly demonstration of the vulnerability of childhood and the menacing forces that can obliterate its tranquility. In the annals of true crime, the case of the Oakland County child killer, grimly referred to as the Babysitter, has become an emblem of unsolved mysteries. It's a spine-chilling narrative that underscores the significance of unwavering investigation and the search for justice, even against seemingly unbeatable odds. The case has ignited innumerable debates, conjectures, and even artistic renditions, all striving to decrypt the enigma that is the babysitter killer. Preserving the memory of the victims is more than a tribute to their short-lived lives. It's a call to arms. It's an admonition to stay alert, to keep our senses sharp, and to never discount the intuition that something is amiss. It's an entreaty to remember that our localities, however serene they may seem, are not impervious to lurking dangers of the unknown. Ultimately, the Oakland County child killer case transcends the realm of unsolved mysteries. It's an emblem of the unyielding quest for justice, a testament to the fortitude of a community, and a grim signal of the darkness that can reside among us. Until this case finds closure, the spectre of the Oakland County child killer will continue to darken the pages of America's true crime chronicles.